Buenos dias. Today we are going to be talking about reflexive verbs. I love reflexive verbs. They're so much easier than verbs that you use with direct and indirect object pronouns. They're really fun and it opens up a lot of avenues of communication because now you can talk about your day and like your habitual schedule and stuff like that. Okay, so first off, let's talk about what is a reflexive verb. A reflexive verb is a verb that we use when the action is done to the person doing the action. So when the subject and the object of the verb are the same, then we're going to use a reflexive verb. Okay. So the action is reflected back onto the subject. So that's why it's called a reflexive verb. Okay. You can tell when a verb is going to be reflexive because it's going to end in say. So for example, acostar, say, duchar, say, lavar, say, okay? To put oneself to bed, to shower oneself, to wash oneself, okay? So now when we conjugate it, that reflexive pronoun, that say, is going to move to the beginning. So it's going to move before the verb. Okay, so let's talk about some of the rules with reflexive verbs, and then we'll look at a conjugation of one. Oh, sorry, I have one more point. If you have two verbs, the reflexive pronoun can go either before the conjugated verb, or you can attach it to the second verb, which is the infinitive. So just like any other verb, or any other pronoun, it's gonna follow those same rules. So a reflexive verb is going to follow the exact same rules as any other verb. The same rules as the pronouns is too. It's just now we have this additional part of a verb that's required because of the meaning of this verb. Okay, so the same endings, present tense and preterite tense, nothing's going to be different. Stem changing rules are the same. So AR verbs aren't going to stem change in the preterite tense. They are going to stem change in the present tense. IR verbs will stem change in the present and in the preterite if they're a stem changing verb, and ER verbs will stem change in the present but not the preterite. Sorry, let me say that over again. AR and ER verbs will have stem changes in the present tense but not the preterite. IR verbs will have stem changes in both if they're stem changing verbs, obviously. Your reflexive pronoun needs to match the subject of the sentence. So whenever we were doing direct object pronouns and indirect object pronouns, you guys always wanted to look at the subject of the sentence, who was doing the action, and that's how you wanted to base your IOP or your DOP. Now you finally get to. With direct object pronouns and indirect object pronouns, that was incorrect, but with reflexives, it's right. So yay, it makes it easier. When we have a reflexive pronoun or a reflexive verb and we're doing that action to like a body part or an article of clothing, like putting on pajamas or washing hands, we don't use a possessive. We're not going to say like, I wash myself my hands. We're just going to say, I wash myself the hands, because since you're already washing yourself, it's implied that you're washing your own hands. So we don't need to add that extra possessive. So your reflexive pronouns are me, te, se, nos, os, and se. So the first and second person pronouns are the exact same as every other first and second person pronoun that you've had, because direct object pronouns were me, te, lo, la, nos, os, los, las. Indirect, me, te, le, nos, os, le. Now direct, me, te, se, nos, os, se. Okay. So really, you just have this new say to remember, and that's already attached to the verb. So it's not terribly difficult to remember. So let's look at secarse. So this is to dry oneself. So yo me seco. So what happens is this say, we move it to the beginning of the verb, and then we have to change it to match whoever our subject is. And then we conjugate this verb, what's left, like normal. Okay, so my say moved from here, I'm the subject, so I change it to me, drop the AR, add an O. Okay, yo me seco, tú te secas. So again, secar is conjugated just like you were drying anything else, drying the dishes. Te secas los platos. Or not te secas, sorry, secas los platos. You dry the dishes. But now, te secas, now you dry las manos. Te secas las manos. You dry your hands. Usted, él, ella se seca. You dry yourself, or he or she dries himself or herself. Nosotros nos secamos. We dry ourselves. Like nos secamos las manos. We dry our hands. Y'all dry yourselves. Os secáis. And y'all dry yourselves, or they dry themselves. Se secan. So we're just moving this reflexive pronoun to the beginning, making it match our subject, and then conjugating our verb like normal. Okay, so let's try some in the present tense. So I shave, so that verb is afeitarse. So I'm going to change the se to me and move it to the beginning. So that leaves with me, and then I have afeitar. And so then I'm going to conjugate afeitar like normal, me afeito. You paint your nails, pintarse. So I'm going to move my se to the beginning before the verb. So te, and then that leaves me with pintar. Conjugate pintar like a normal verb. Pintas, and then your nails. I'm not going to use my possessive because I already know that I'm doing this to myself. So it's implied with that te. Te seca or te pintas las uñas. Okay, see if you can do the next few on your own. Hit pause and then write the rest of them. And then when you're done, hit play and we'll see how you did. All right, number 3, they shower. Ellos se duchan. So move my se to the beginning, conjugate duchar like normal. You get dressed. Te vistes. Okay, so vestirse is E to I. So this is inside the shoe, the to form. So I change my E to I here. Add my ending like normal. Te vistes. He puts on. Él se pone. We go to bed. Nos acostamos. No stem change here because that's outside the shoe. I get ready. Me preparo. I prepare myself. Y'all in Spain, vosotros despertáis. Or os despertáis. I apologize. Os despertáis. Y'all wake up. He cuts his hair. Él se corta el pelo. Again, we don't need that his here because this action is being done to himself. And she brushes her teeth. Ella se cepilla los dientes. So she brushes herself teeth. Okay, now let's try these same ones and put them in the preterite tense. Because why not? Because we're in Spanish 3. We can do this. So the only one that's going to be irregular, and I took out ponerse, that he puts on. I think I changed that one because poner is very irregular, or it's irregular in the preterite tense. So he put on would be él se puso. So the rest of them are the same though. Okay, so I shave. So I'm doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to take my se and move it to the beginning and change it to me, just so that I did it to myself. Afeitar, put it in the preterite tense, afeité. Me afeité. You painted your nails. Te pintaste las uñas. So regular AR verb ending, move my se to the beginning, make it match the subject, and then I have my definite article instead of my possessive. Okay, do the rest of them on your own and then, or hit pause, do the rest, then hit play and see how you did. All right, they showered, se ducharon. You got dressed. This one is going to be it's not going to stem change here. Vestir is a stem changing verb, but remember in the preterite tense, we only stem change in the usted el ella form and ustedes ellos ellas form. So te vestiste. He fixed his hair. Él se arregló el pelo. We went to bed. Nos acostamos. That one doesn't change because the present preterite tense endings are the same. I got ready. Me preparé. Y'all woke up. Os despertasteis. He cut his hair. Él se cortó el pelo. And she brushed her teeth. Ella se cepilló los dientes. Okay, so really conjugating reflexive verbs are pretty simple. You just have to remember to do that extra step. Okay, so some verbs can be reflexive or non-reflexive, and it depends on how you're using it, whether or not you're going to use a reflexive pronoun. So for example, antes de comer me lavo las manos. So before I eat, or before eating, I wash my hands. So this one would be reflexive, okay? Because whose hands am I washing? I'm washing my own hands. But in this example, después de comer, lavo los platos. After eating, I wash the dishes. This isn't reflexive because I wouldn't need a reflexive verb here because the dishes are not a part of myself. Okay? Let's look at another example. Felipe se pone los zapatos. Felipe puts on his shoes. Who does he put his shoes on? Himself. Okay? But Felipe pone la mesa. Felipe sets the table. The table's not a part of Felipe, so that one's not reflexive. So you can use a lot of these verbs reflexively or not reflexively. So like if I'm giving James a bath, I would not use a reflexive verb there. I would use a direct object pronoun, or a direct, James would be the direct object. If I'm getting him dressed, I would not be using a reflexive pronoun. I would be using just poner. I put this on him. You know, washing things. You can wash your dishes, you can wash your hands. You can wash the car, you can wash your hair. Okay? You can brush your own hair, you can brush the dog. Okay? So a lot of these you can use reflexively or not reflexively. But if you're doing the action to yourself, you have to have that reflexive pronoun. Reflexives with a command. So when you're giving a to command, like if you're telling someone like wash your hands, you know, like we're all doing with the Rona, you're going to attach that reflexive pronoun to the end of the command, and then you're going to add an accent mark to the second last syllable of the verb, just like you would if you were giving a command to someone using a direct object pronoun. So same rules. So the pronoun doesn't count as one of the syllables when you're counting your syllables. Okay, so like wake up, despiértate. So I'm just looking at my verb here, despierta. That's the command form. Right? And then I add my pronoun to the end, despiértate, wake up, wake yourself up. And then to count back for where I put my accent mark, because if we listen to despierta, the natural stress falls on the E, so then I have to add a written accent mark when I'm adding that extra syllable, because otherwise it would sound like despierta, despiértate. And that's not what I want. I want to sound like despierta. Okay? Go to bed, acuéstate. So acuesta, we go to the usted el ella form. It's the command form. Accent on the 1, 2 syllables back, add my pronoun to the end. Put on shoes, ponte los zapatos. When it's just a 1 syllable command, like poner is pon, you don't have to add an accent mark because it's all, the stress is going to fall there already. Okay, if you have multiple pronouns, and this is a Spanish like 4 or 5 thing, but I like to make you guys aware of it just in case you see it somewhere. If you have multiple pronouns, it's going to go in the order reflexive, indirect, direct. This is an acronym called RID. You're never going to have all 3 pronouns. You're never going to do something to yourself, for yourself, with something else. It's just not going to happen. So if I wanted to say like, put them on, and this makes me think of like using the mom voice for like later when I'm mad at James and I'm like, put on your, I said, put them on, you know? So if I'm telling him like, put them on now, like put the shoes on, pontelos. Hola. Okay, or wash them. Like I told you to wash your hands 17,000 times, just wash them. Lavatelas. Okay, and I would have to put an accent mark on there. Okay. All right. If you have any questions about reflexive pronouns or reflexive verbs, let me know. You guys are starting to come in now, so I'm going to end this. Have a lovely day. Adios.